Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Matchup Report, NBA edition again. Excited to talk some exciting stuff that's been happening in the world of basketball here lately. Some controversial stuff, weirdly enough. You would never expect that of the NBA. Here
Yeah,
we are.
never. The NBA being controversial, what
No,
what what could that mean, you know?
why would everybody be arguing about something like that? Should never happen in the NBA. But here we are, man. We're excited to talk about it. Of course, as always, we'll be reviewing our matchups, going into the ones that we're looking at next, and then we'll have our shoot around, just talking basketball in general and some of the latest topics that we find interesting. Before we start though, Jay, how you doing, man? You good?
I'm good. I can't say that I'm ready to graduate because life after graduation is scary, but I am ready for the next step in some way.
Yeah, you feel exactly the way I did a year ago, so I get you on that. But hey, man, still, it'll be fun. Like once you get there, you walk across the stage, and I'll be watching that live stream, cheering you on, and I'm sure a lot of other people there support you. But we're all excited for you to graduate. All right, well
I'm a
let's
little
get straight
too
to
excited.
it. We're gonna preview our matchups first, as always. So let's get to it, man. I want you to go first. What is your first one?
All right, my first matchup. This is one that I think we both wanted to keep an eye on, and that was the Boston game this past weekend or past Friday, I should say, against Dallas, which was, of course, the Jason Tatum return. In his return, he played 27 minutes, finished with 15 points, 12 rebounds, and 7 assists. And honestly, I think the biggest thing, and I think the broadcast team said this as well, is that you aren't really looking to see the stats from him in this game. You're not looking to say, oh, like, and I know I just read off his stat line, but I think Joe Mazzulla and the Celtics staff were looking at how he fit into the game, how his momentum was, like how his rhythm was with the rest of the Boston team, because he was joining a Boston team that was very much in rhythm. It was a team that already has their identity, which is weird. And they kept talking about like how insane is it that this is a top three seed in the Eastern Conference that's getting a star player back, and they're a top three seed. And so a big question I think we both had, or more a concern, was like, if you're bringing him back, how does he fit into the current Boston rotation without messing things up? But then again, you think and process, and it's like Joe Mazzulla is the answer, and I think Joe Mazzulla did a great job of both, being careful about not, making the Tatum return bigger than it had to be. Just keeping it, relatively what it needed to be, and just like saying, hey, take your moments. We're not going to say like go out there and be the Jason Tatum that we would have seen prior to this injury. Just go out there, play the way we need you to play. And not force things, and I think he did a good job. I think at first it was like, oh, he's looking for that first shot, trying to get the building to like blow like the crowd to get into it. And I think after that, like I think he slowed down, got into the game, and played really well.
Yeah, he misses like first like six shots, I think,
Yeah.
before the first one finally went in, and I mean he was trying to hit some threes. I think, like you said, it's like he just had to settle in, and then once he got there and let the game come to him, it was pretty good to see. I mean, you mentioned the stats. The rebounding was like an awesome, like the rebounding, and then his willingness to like set screens and actively be a part of the offense in other ways off ball. That was where I was like, okay, like clearly, like Missoula and them, like this isn't going to be too much of an issue. Like once he gets more minutes, which he played more. I think he played like 27 minutes, which is more than I thought he was going to play in his debut. But I mean, good for him for going out there and just like giving it his all right away. And like, he was playing in quick little spurts and just going out there and just contributing to a win. And it was a lot of fun to watch. And of course, it was against Dallas, who's fledgling, but like what that's still like that's a great team to have your debut against to start to get back in a rhythm. I don't know. It was just really cool to see him out there just with his teammates and like the appreciation that he had afterwards, like thanking his teammates, saying like they're all here, they've been supporting me, that they understand the process, and that they've been holding it down while I've been injured. And it's interesting because we've been talking all year about it, where it's like, okay, like is he going to come? Should he even coming back? Like we were leaning more towards like the hey, probably not. But then,
Yeah.
of course, there was always the Joe Mazzulla and the Boston Celtics like psycho like aspect of all this, where it's like they're gonna like we called that part out. We were like, they're Joe Mazzulla is not gonna tank. Like, there's no sense of him like there's really not a gap here when it comes to that guy. Like, he's gonna try to win, and I don't think anybody in the Celtics organization, if they felt differently, would be able to convince him that way. So this was somewhat inevitable. I don't think we expected them to be like top of the East nearly like good when it came to this. Like if you had told me they like at the beginning they're like, oh, they're around like the sixth like seed, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I can see that. But legitimately competing for top two in the East. So it's it's been awesome. So now that you add him, like, and he continues to get settled in more to this team, you're kind of like, how dangerous can the Celtics team actually be with the addition of him? Like Jalen Brown, Jalen's been playing like a superstar for the most
Yeah.
part. Um, Unfortunately, he's been getting into it with the refs a lot lately. Although the Spurs one, this that just happened, was unfortunate, but it did lead to a good Joe Mazzulla quote again about his high school principal somehow. But yeah, but anyways, back to all of it. Yeah, with Tatum, man, it's like it's something to monitor because like especially if you're in the East, you got to be like, okay, if he's gonna be playing like we're not expecting 100% Jason Tatum, but if he's be able to contribute to a team that's already top of like another conference basically, then this Celtics team just like it can becomes even more like we were already thinking like in my mind I was already thinking like okay I could see the winning a couple playoff series potentially here, but now you have to consider them a contender. Like I genuinely believe that.
Yeah, I don't think there was any doubt before, but I agree with you in the sense that I think we both looked at this team very early when we did our season predictions, and it's like, yes, we know Joe Mazzulla isn't going to tank, but at the same time, we didn't think they really had enough on their roster to be a two seed come now. And prior to a Jason Tatum return, it was like, all right, like Boston's hanging around potentially to play, and I think was the expectation. Jason Tatum comes back and is able to push them out of the play and into a top relatively top seed. Like I was thinking top four max, but even then, like of course the NBA season has been completely unpredictable as it typically is, and it just so happened that the Celtics are a team that's able to take advantage of that. A team like Cleveland struggling to find their footing, Boston was able to beat up on them a couple of times, and that was another matchup. Literally, actually, I'll transition into that now is that following the Dallas game, Boston played Cleveland, which is something I had an eye on because it's like, yes, I think it's easy to say, like, oh, Jason Tatum's first game, the emotions are high. It's against Dallas. And once again, the way just how Dallas' season is planned out, it hasn't gone the way they've wanted. And them, shutting down Kyrie for the remainder of the season says a lot about that as well. But I was interested to see what this looked like from a Boston perspective of attacking a team that is very much on the level of them, and putting Jason Tatum into a game like this against a high level, Cleveland team that can attack you in so many different ways, and especially with the James Harden acquisition. Like, how does it all kind of fit together? How do we see this Boston team kind of operate? And I think the answer was they just kept being Boston. It wasn't anything special that they did. They did a good job at exactly what you would expect Boston to do. And really, like, I was looking and watching this game and looking back at the stats, and it's like Cleveland had an 11-3 lead to like very early on. From there, Boston took over the game and like damn near didn't let them even get close from there. Like after that. And a big part of that is obviously Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown is playing at this superstar level where it's like he's getting MVP consideration against the real MVP, who we'll talk about later. And it's really good to see because I think like a lot of the backlash following the Celtics win was like, oh, Jason Tatum should have been the Finals MVP, or Jaylen Brown wasn't good enough for Finals MVP. It didn't make sense, which I think is bullshit because Jaylen Brown was clearly the best player for the Celtics on the court. But NBA Twitter and the NBA fan bases nowadays are terrible. Either way, I think there was a lot of criticism that Jaylen Brown, and I think even part of us was thinking that like it would be a lot for Jaylen Brown to take over and be the number one guy where Jason Tatum is going to fill that role. And he's done a good job kind of proving everyone wrong and saying, like, fuck it, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to play to the level that I'm capable of, and it's getting him MVP consideration. And I think the fact that Jason Tatum came back and it's not been, and obviously, second game back, you're not going to say Jason Tatum take the keys of this offense and the keys of this team, but it's still cool to see Jason Tatum more so taking a role and being a guy that is taking a very much a clear backseat, even as he's getting healthier, to Jaylen Brown and saying, go out there and win this game for us.
Yeah, oh yeah, Cleveland. I don't know. First of all, I want to start there. They're a frustrating team at times, man, because it's like even when I think they're getting it together, they have these like starts where it's like it feels like if they get off to a poor start, sometimes they just like it's like the body language is like not to be a body language guy, but it really does feel like they're just like okay, it's just another one of these games. Like let's get through it. But I mean, I think that is where at times like Harden and some of the other new additions have helped when you bring in that new energy. But I mean, Boston, like, you're right. They just go out there. It doesn't matter who's on the floor. They're just gonna play their brand of basketball. Like they're gonna get up their threes and they're just gonna attack you. Like that's just what it is. Like they're gonna be ferocious on defense, and it works, man. Like it just when you have a coach like Joe Mazzulla, you can just make it work like this. And of course, it does help when you do have like a Jalen Brown out there, and it's like I think that game, Derek White didn't have his best game, but then you have other guys like Pritchard who can. You're like, oh well, okay, one of our guys is going to play bad, but like I have Pritchard or Hauser or randomly like even though Jordan Walsh doesn't play every game, like he can come in and do something. Ugo Gonzalez, it's like you have all these
And
guys
that
who are just like,
Daily Shireman come in and score 16 points off the bench for the Celtics. Like it really is crazy that like, and I think a lot of once again, this is where the credit I think goes mostly to Joe Mazzulla, where it's like Celtics are ducking the luxury tax and they're rearranging their roster to best like fit what the organization looks like moving forward, and it's like, oh, like I don't know if what Boston's going to be able to maximize out of some of these players, and it's like, all right, like it doesn't matter because Joe Mazzulla does a great job at developing these players, getting them to play at their fullest potential, and we've seen that.
yeah, he drafts a bunch of guys who if I'm getting scouted by a basketball team and they're like, "Oh, Joe Mazzulla likes you," I'm going like, to me, that's like, "Oh, he like I must be a psycho too," because like he has to see something in you where he's like, "I know this guy would." He would probably say something like, "I know this guy would, go under like he would hold the razor wire for me as I crawled through," or something like that, like or like like a grenade took his arm off
Joe
and he still
Mazzulla,
gave me like it'd be something dumb like, "Oh, he was like he lost a limb but still gave me a high five." You'd be like, "What?" Like, what are you talking about? But it's just like it works. Like this guy, like he finds his people and he develops them, and I think that goes part in credit to Brad Stevens as well, who was a good coach in his own right. But like now that he has our front office role, I just think that tandem, it's like, and it hurts my soul to say this, trust me, but it's just like it makes the Celtics organization so good and so consistent because of the people that they have in the office and in the coaching, and then everything else just seems to fall in place when you get the buy-in from your players like this. But I mean, look, and now that Detroit they wanted this like 4 game skid earlier this like last week, and now like I think Celtics are 3.5 behind. Yeah, they're like they're only 3.5 games behind. And look, we know March can be crazy. So if Boston continues on, I mean, they're 7 of their last 10 they've won. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we're talking like 2 weeks from now where it's like the 1 seed is still up for grabs like this.
yeah, I mean, I still think and I think this will be more of a test for the young Pistons team to see like how they're able to withstand something like this when you have a team like Boston who's experienced and has an experienced coaching staff and experienced players who have been there and done that. It's more of a test for Detroit to say like how capable are we as a young team to go in and win a game like or win games like this to kind of keep Boston off our backs.
All right. Well, I want to talk about there was another debut we had to talk about. It was happening kind of when we were recording our last show, so we didn't really get to talk about that much. But Trey Young debuted with the Wizards finally, and it was against the Jazz, who did end up beating the Wizards. Which, by the way, I'm pretty sure the Jazz have a couple wins at least since the last time we talked. So where are we at with
No,
the?
honestly, just one win Since we've last talked. So as things stand,
Wait, hold on.
the Jazz have 20 wins.
Am I bugging?
As I keep track of on my board.
They do have 20 wins.
Yeah, just 20 wins. So once again, for those who are unfamiliar, at 25 wins, I have to buy a Jazz jersey, either Keontae George or an Ace Bailey. And it's honestly, I think it's looking pretty good. Honestly, I got a lot of help from Utah themselves deciding to kind of call it in. Laurie Marketing and Jaren Jackson Jr. sitting out for the remainder of the season. And I'm glad that the hefty fine that they received didn't persuade them to say otherwise. So I'm going to continue to smile and pretend that tanking is good just for this one instance.
Hey, 5 wins can happen just like that, man. But you never know.
I don't know.
I mean, the Spurs were on a 5 game win streak. I'm sorry. I just there's no comparison there. But hey, man, look, 5 wins. It might sneak up on you. You don't know, but I doubt it will because they'll try to make sure it doesn't. But anyways, back to the game. So yeah, it was the Wizards and the Jazz. Trey Young's debut. He only played about what was it? I think it was 20 minutes. Yeah, he played 19 minutes. So it wasn't like he was out there, for a really long time, able to do everything. I mean, naturally, that's what's going to happen. You come back for injury like this, but he still played like decent. Like he led the team in assists. He wasn't hitting his threes, but the float, like dude, the touch he has on his floaters is so good. Like I was watching your game, that well, our game that we both watched, the Denver OKC game.
Yeah.
And they were talking during the broadcast. I think it was Austin Rivers mentioned Jokic's like floater. He's like, oh, he's got the best touch, like for the game. And, like I would agree, like he does have some of the best touch when it comes to like that floater. But like watching Trey Young's in games like this, I was like, okay, like he still has that ability. Like, yeah, okay, he's not gonna be like the most aggressive guy when it comes to his drives, but the fact that someone his size can have that ability to like shoot it when he can, although the shooting's been a little, but like he still has other ways to score like that is good, and it works with a team like this that is constantly moving around. There was a really fun moment in this debut where it was Trey and Trey, it was Trey Young and Trey Johnson out there at the same time, which was like a really fun pairing because at one point they're kind of like swinging it back and forth to each other on the top of the key, and at one point Trey Johnson had the ball in his hand, and he was telling Trey Young like, "No, you move." Like you curl around, and then I'll pass it to you. And then as they did that, they were manipulating the defender. Trey Young gets the ball in his hands, immediately kind of like steps towards the drive, and then kicks it back out to Trey Johnson, who at that point was wide open at the top of the key, which should not happen. I know he's a rookie, but he's an elite shooter already. And then yeah, it goes in, and you're like, okay, if these two can develop a kind of chemistry like that, where they're working off each other, and you have two like very good shooters, and the more good shooters that Trey Young has around him, the better, obviously, because they can just open up space for everybody. And then you're able to work off of some of your other guys like Bylaw and whoever else going forward. Bylaw, there's a conversation we had about him at some point. He can have a game where he'll hit 5 3 pointers, and then he's just like, okay, now I'm gonna go back to going like 0 for 4 every game. You're like, all right, dude, like let's just work on this jumper. But yeah, it was that was like the main thing I was looking at. I was like, all right, how is Trey Young gonna like put himself on this team and like fit in? And I think you genuinely can have something there, especially when you get like a more consistent minutes with him and Alex Sarr. I want to see more of that pick and roll action. Uh, Julian Reese, Angel Reese's brother, um, had like a career game this game randomly where he had 20 rebounds with an even split of 10-0 and 10 D boards. It was like, what the hell is happening right here? It was really
Rebounds
cool to see
from the
that, like just
family.
the me bounds run in the family, I guess. So it was. But like he's generally like I didn't mean to make this like a Julian Reese like segment, but like genuinely every time he's been on the floor since he debuted with the Wizards, it's been kind of intriguing. Like like as it hasn't been enough yet where I'm like, oh, this guy deserves a spot in this team. But I do think he's playing his way towards like an NBA contract. Like I think he's someone now like going forward, you'd be like, hey, do you need a big who can rebound? Go get this guy.
Yeah.
So
And
that was also a really cool aspect of this game.
yeah, I think with the one thing I'll say about this game is that you had all your starters finish in double digits, and I think yes, like you still you still allowed Utah to score 122 points, but I think when you have a player like Anthony Davis come back and he dictates a lot of your defensive, just flow as a whole, like I think it's like it's difficult to come across a player like Anthony Davis defensively. Like I think the biggest example that I can think of that's still like playing right now is previous year's Rudy Gobert, but Rudy Gobert has taken even further steps from being Rudy Gobert. But I think Wemby, like you have a player that literally like you have to keep an eye on at all times on the like when you are attacking a defense because of how dangerous he is, just being able to roam and shot block, but also just clog lanes and just be disruptive. And I think Anthony Davis when he comes back and whatever, even if he's like still with struggling with injuries and stuff, I still think he'll be able to make an impact to kind of help the defensive aspect of this.
Yeah, I think he'll be interesting to watch going forward too, because I'm still not sure if he actually still even wants to be in DC, but we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I agree. Like they're an intriguing team to watch going forward. I mean, I already said that. Like I kind of had my whole spiel on them last episode, but we don't need to go further into it. All right, let's get to the next game. I think we should just dive into, if you're ready, the Denver and OKC game, which ended up being like kind of one of the games of the season so far. Oh, here, let me hold up. I'm not sure. Your camera and mic went off here.
Sorry. Yes, I am fully ready
Okay,
to
all
talk
right.
about this.
Okay, I was like, I don't know what happened there, but okay. So yeah, let's go. Let's get into the Denver and OKC game. A game that you and I both picked for obvious reasons. Two top seeds within the West, two powerhouses that have gone against each other a lot in recent years, and it's always entertaining games, especially when Lou Dort is trying to murder people on the court. It's all. I knew I'd get a reaction out of that one, but I mean, he's your favorite OKC player, so I know you got to defend him. But wait, this game lived up to the billing. It was very entertaining. A lot of back and forth in it until the very end, when SGA decided to hit James Harden mode and go step back and step back and step back. But I want to hear your thoughts on it first because I know this was a big one for you.
Okay, first I'll say I once again, and this is like my third week of saying this. I want Lou Dort off my team. I can't continue to say it, but I will because it feels like every time it is something different and it is costly. Like that flagrant was like late in the game where it's like it literally was a big reason that Denver was able to come back into this. But either way, it doesn't matter when you have a clutch player like Shea Alexander, who constantly just literally like and look like I'm glazing, but at the same time I think it's well deserved. Like when you have a player that's had 35 points, 15 assists, and 9 rebounds with 0 turnovers, it's like it's insane. And the fact that like we talk a lot about players' offensive gravity and the attention that they draw to themselves. And I think a big part of this and the reason he had 15 assists is because he's able to draw a defense in when he's driving and all the attention focuses on him because you have to send doubles his way, you have to send triples his way, you have to try to find ways to contain him. That OKC did a good job, one surrounding him with shooters, but also making these shots because I think that's been a big issue this season. It's all right, it's easy for Shea to slash and kick out, but it's another thing for those players to actually make shots. And when you have a player like Jalen Williams, 29 points, 12 rebounds, and 7 threes, I like it has been great to see him continue to develop from just being he's just the other Jalen Williams to he's making an impactful like he's an important and impactful piece of this team where he comes off the bench and he can try his best to guard Jokic. I know Jokic still gets away with his crazy threes. Like the last minute shots. I hate his shooting form because every time I know it's going in and it looks like so lackadaisical, like I just shoot ball, like I don't care, and it bothers me. But either way, like I think OKC, and it's once again a credit to Mark Dino for being able to construct a roster that works really well around OKC around Shea, but not just working well with Shea, but being able to sustain when Shea isn't on the court. Like AJ Mitchell, this was his first game back, and he's scoring 24 points off the bench and looking smooth and confident. Like I think that was a big thing. You have Jared McCain coming off the bench and scoring 13 points. Like these things are all crucial to OKC, and just them being in the place that they are, where they can easily substitute players in and out and just look good. And then at once again, you can throw all that context aside. When the game is on the line, when you need a big bucket from somebody, turning to Shea, he doesn't fail you. And I think this was the big thing where it's like, all right, it wasn't just it wasn't just one big shot in the clutch. It was two big shots in the clutch, like two big step back threes. Which like one, it was like, oh, that's got to be it. He's sealing the game. And then it's like, oh no, this one is actually the game winner. And I think when all the attention is on him and OKC is still able to one draw up a good play for him and two him being able to make these shots, it says a lot about the type of team that OKC is and why they once again are a championship team. And this is that's 3 wins against Denver to 0 losses. So two big important factors in this.
Yeah, it was another game where OKC got to flex how deep their roster is because you're right. I mean, my first two notes on this was like that Aaron Gordon and AJ Mitchell both just like had crazy hot starts to this, especially Aaron Gordon. Like I think this was his first game back with Denver since his injury.
This was second.
Second, okay, but dude, because we talked about it last show, like how important he is to that team, like, and since he's been out, like they've clearly missed him. And you saw it in a game like this where it's like, okay, he's hitting threes, he's getting the boards, he's trailing, like everything he's doing, you're like, God damn, like he really is a connector for that team. Like they need him, which is really cool to see with Aaron Gordon and like how he's developed over his career. And like so, like I was like, you hit on those like where I was like, AJ Mitchell was just awesome, like especially in those first two quarters. I was like, holy shit, like is anybody gonna stop him? Like every time he had the ball in his hands, he was getting by somebody. And then of course, yeah, Jared McCain. It's just watching him and Isaiah Joe just go out there and just have like the most open threes, and they're actually being used well. They're off ball. Them Jared McCain's off ball movement is so impressive, man. Like it's so awesome to see. Like the moment the ball leaves his hands, his feet are moving. Like he's chopping. Like he's getting somewhere else where, and he's ready. Like he always does the thing where like he'll pass the ball and his hands stay up. Like he'll like backpedal to a spot with his hands up. Like all right, hey, I got you. I'm gonna move to my other spot. I'm ready to shoot. Like he's always ready to shoot, and he's always putting himself in positions to do that. And it's okay. Anyway, I was about to go. Never mind. It's like I have to like like suppress the demons anytime I talk about the Sixers or a former Sixers player before I go on a rant. So I'm not gonna do that right now. But yeah, but it's cool to see the way he's fit in. And then on the other player for the Denver side, Tim Hardaway was sniping this game, dude. He was all over the place, like in a good way. Like like every time the ball was in his hand, he was just dead eye. Like, okay, I'm gonna get this shot up, and most of them were
Three.
going in. Like, he was cold. Like it was actually a lot of fun, which was cool because I feel like he's been kind of like up and down this season. So, and they're gonna need him in the playoffs, especially because Cam Johnson has not exactly worked out the way they wanted to so far. And everyone's still saying like, oh, like he's still like because of injuries, he's still kind of finding his place with his team, and then we'll see what happens. But the playoffs are like basically about a month away now, like 6 weeks. So I mean, the time to fit in and figure things out is kind of we're getting past that point. So they're gonna need a guy like Tim Hardaway to step up with the shooting if Cam Johnson's gonna be this way, and hopefully Denver gets Peyton Watson back soon because I think they're definitely missing his scoring and some of his defense as well. But either way, like you said, like OKC was you were down Jalen Williams, Chet, like some other players, and it was just like there was no loss. There was no like step back. There were step backs, but there was no loss in rhythm. Like this team just seems to find a way to win all the time, whether it be through their offense or through the defense. And I mean, and then in this game, it was another historical moment where SGA ties Wilt for most 20-point games in a row, and I'm sure that's going to be broken if it hasn't already. I think it has it since then, but um,
Sorry, I was muted. That's a game I want to talk about, but we'll save
yeah.
that. Come on.
But like this was the game where he tied that record, and it was just like to see him do it in a game like this that important, and to have those moments at the end of the game. It was like I'm not gonna say it's consensus because it never is anymore. But like it was one of those games where you're like, okay, like this is clearly like if he's not the MVP, he's like the second guy right now. Like at the like that is like where the floor ends with him. It's like if he's not MVP, he's runner up at this point, and at this point, I probably would give him the MVP so far this season.
I'm sorry. I could you say it again? I didn't. My mic must not have picked it up
It
for me.
recorded. You can watch it back later.
That's crazy. But
Yeah, I think like, and
when you look at the way he's played and the peak that he's been on the past couple seasons, it really is insane. And I think like it's very easy to sit there and go with the memes and go with the he's well both sides of it. Oh, he's so consistent, or oh, he's a free throw merchant. But like in a game like this, I think he had just 4 free throws. I need to double check that, but like it either way he genuinely just looked really smooth. He got to his spots, and he didn't let anybody deter him. Like it was legitimately like
The
he's
passing, what like you mentioned the 15 assists. The passing was really good. Like he had some baseline drives where he would just like kind of like euro or just step around a guy, and then when the help came, he was immediately finding the guy like in the corner or like on the wing for the easy shot. Which a lot of times, like I think that's how Jalen Williams got so many threes, was because he was there, he was just standing there ready with his like stiff ass like shot, but like he was ready to go and they were going in. And
it's
credit to
crazy.
SGA, man. Like the passes were good.
It's funny because like every time he was like, it felt like he would get to his spot and he's getting ready to shoot, and then he's like he kicks it out. I'm like, oh man, like I wanted him to take that, and I'm like, oh never mind, three, no, like it's a 3 point. How am I to say like it's a bad pass? But I think like and, like I'm not gonna sit here and say like, oh, this is proof that like he's not selfish and everything. But I do think like when you like we talked about Anthony Edwards last week and him being the I think we talked about it being a positive thing, but him wanting the ball in the clutch, like which is like kind of what we saw from Shea. But I still think even then, the leading up to that, the willingness to still pass the ball, it once again makes you more of a threat come that like a last moment shot like that, because it's like, oh yes, like we know he's probably taking a shot. Like Shea wants that shot. Shea is the guy to take that shot. But at the same time, if Jalen Williams is in the corner and you send a double his way, and Jalen Williams has 7 threes this game, there's a chance he kicks out to you and Jalen Williams, hits the game winner on you because of the threat of 15 assists, and he's been passing that, making that play all game. Which is why we saw, Shai just with a single man on him in a big moment like that. So I think it once again is a credit to Shai and being able to play make, but also the almost like a story throughout the game of being able to say like we're hitting them this way so that like they literally don't know what to expect.
Yeah, I mean, look, man, it makes me excited for the playoffs where it's like once if hopefully OKC gets healthier here soon, where you get Hartenstein and all those guys back, and then good lord, man, the playoffs with like whether we get OKC, Nuggets, Spurs, like all these teams playing each other, it's gonna be highly entertaining, man. I can't wait. And this was a good preview for that. All right, let's move on to the next OKC game. I know you got some more uh some more glaze for your boy here, so let's go.
Okay, I wanted to. Okay, I'll save it for the second half of this. I
Pause,
actually
by the way.
wanted to jump over to the other Western Conference team, that one that you happened to just mention, the one that plays in Texas. Actually, two of these teams both play Texas
So
because
you hate
it's
this
San
team now.
Antonio and Houston. But San Antonio played at Houston this past weekend, and they led the entire game, and that should tell you a lot about this, because it was a game that San Antonio just dominated offensively, and they still allowed 120 points to Houston, so I can't say defensively as well. But I think everything that we've been talking about the past couple of weeks about wanting to see this team play consistently offensively, and a lot of the we talked about the gravitational pull with Shea, but also the gravitational pull with like a player like Wimby, and the fact that you have to send doubles his way is a reason that the Spurs were able to confidently win this game. It was 145 to 120. Like when you score almost 150 points, like you're doing something well offensively, where it's like you're just beating a team, and especially a team like Houston that has such a strong defense and a strong, like way to attack you with their height. Like it's insane that you're able to score that amount on them. Like Wimby had 29. You had Stefan Castle who scored 23 points. He was 7 for 13, 3 for 4 from three, which is like exactly what you want to see from him as he's continued to develop his offense. That is and obviously he's not going to do that every game. But if Stefan Castle was scoring that, like if he takes that lead next year, where he's doing that consistently, this team like it's going to be difficult to beat them because you have Wimby and you have Stefan Castle playing at that level, and he's just as impactful on the defensive end. Like that would be if he's just a 20-point per game scorer, and he's like a relatively good 3-point shooter, like this team is good. Keldon Johnson, 20 off the bench. Dylan Harper, 19 off the bench. Like, this team was fully in rhythm on the offensive end and just, enforced their will.
Yeah, and then there were some funny bits that came out of this game too, where I think it was Dylan Harper said after the game, he's like they ran the same play 15 times in a row against Houston because they're like it's just working, which is just like it's kind of sad where it's like we think of Houston as this like really good defensive team, like that's supposed to be one of their calling cards, and the Spurs were like, well, we found this one weakness on you, and we're just gonna keep spamming it until you figure it out, which I guess they didn't because when you lose by 25 points and it was 145 to
Yeah,
120.
145. 145 to 120. You lose by 25 points. You didn't adjust anything defensively.
Yeah, so yeah, when that's going on, clearly the Spurs found something. And you're right, like the Spurs can just attack you and attack you and attack you. And when Stephon Castle and Harper are playing that way with Wemby, it's ridiculous, man. But and then for the Houston side of it, it's look, they're a good team, but it's starting to get worrying. Where it's like in games like this, they only hit eight threes like total for the entire game, and it's like, how does this happen as like like a functioning NBA? Like, of course, they're still able to put up points, but at some point, like once like teams are starting to figure this out, where they're going to force you to do this, and that was one of the other bits that came out of this game where they were like Kevin Durant was like getting triple teamed, and he's like, "Why are you triple teaming me?" And it's like the sound bit was basically they were just like. Well, no one else can get a bucket, so they were just like, "We'll just attack Kevin Durant, and then
We're
we'll just
following your alleged words,
yeah.
like.
Hey, we're gonna triple team you, and we're gonna force Shingun, Thompson, whoever else to score, and they weren't able to do enough. I mean, Shingun had 16, Thompson did get 23, which matched Kevin Durant, but like outside of that, you're just not getting much production for anyone else. It's like Reed Shepard sometimes can pop off where like he'll hit a bunch of threes, and then other times like he is a good player, but Yeah, it's like you take away Kevin Durant, who are you going to for your go-to buckets on the Rockets? And then you're not hitting threes, and then you're just gonna fall behind these better Western Conference teams like this. So, and a large part of this is like there's so many points that they're missing because Steven Adams isn't out there. Like since his injury, like their O boards have gone down, which anybody could have predicted. And since then, like the second chance points goes down, like you're not getting as many like opportunities, and now Houston is like I don't know if I can see them going into the playoffs being one of those teams where I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna pick them over like an OKC, a Denver, or a Spurs team.
Yeah, I think like as much as the Western Conference can be a mess and it's crazy. I still think, in my opinion, we're going to see the top four teams still be the like come as it gets later to the playoffs, still be there in those positions where they are still the top four teams remaining. And I obviously that's difficult to say when you have middling teams like I think the Lakers fall down. I don't think they're able to they maintain. They're at the four seed right now, and I think that's typical for them to maintain, especially with just the inconsistencies with them as a team as a whole. But I think like to me it's OKC, San Antonio. I still think Houston is in that top tier, and then I think Minnesota is like the fourth best team in the Western Conference, and then Denver fifth behind them. I think like the Lakers are like a clear six just because they have so many weaknesses. That they just can't account for. But I still think like that like OKC, San Antonio, and Houston is still despite the issues Houston is having, they're still a top three team. Well, obviously by record, but also
Mm.
like I think they'll be there come come playoff time.
Well, they've only got a half a game lead on the Lakers and the Timberwolves right now, so we'll see how long that lasts. But I don't know. Like it's yeah, this is the same thing with the Western Conference every year. It's like it's really close at the top there. Like of all like the 1 through 6, even really you could say like 1 through 7 because I mean the
Well, I'd
Phoenix
say like
Suns, but
3 through 7. OKC and Houston is like its own race, or OKC and
well,
San Antonio is its own race.
okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. 3 through 7 is like it's pretty tight, but we'll see what happens. But I guess I don't know. I guess I'm just less confident in the Rockets than you are. But like I said, their defense is still there. You still have Kevin Durant, a guy who can get a bucket, and when you get to the playoffs, that type of stuff matters. But if teams are already finding ways to exploit you this bad, like there's a lot of things you clearly need to fix before you get in there.
Yeah, I still, I agree with that. I still think that at the end of the day, we've seen that defense and depth is the key to winning championships, and I think Houston has both. It's just a matter of getting healthy to fully be at that capacity. Because it's Steven Adams, but I think it's also a Reed Shepard who's taken the step this year to also continue to be that playmaker for your team and operate your offense. So it's going to be interesting to see like what this team's full health status is, because then I'll probably drop if they're still struggling with injury issues. Like I'll be on your level of like I feel like I don't have a lot of confidence in them in the playoffs, but we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. All right, let's move on to the next matchup. I'll give my last one, and then we can move on to yours. So I watched the Clippers Memphis game, which was surprisingly very good, like a highly entertaining game. It was a game where the Grizzlies got up by 19 at one point, like early in the game too, and then it was just Kawhi and Darius Garland and Matherin like just attacking this team and like working their way back, and it was genuinely like a really fun game to watch. It's like because like once this game got close again, like it was just like okay, I go on a run, you go on a run, I go on a run, you go on a run. It was just good like back and forth. And Kawhi Leonard looked like just the most like it was just like the easiest game where he was just like it's so funny that his face just never changes because he gets to a spot, he goes up. You know, it was funny like watching all the young players on the Grizzlies like try to defend him, and he was just like, "Oh, you're gonna." Every time they reached in, he was like, "I'm gonna go up. I'm gonna take this midi, and like you're gonna foul me." It was every single time, and like you would see them like look at the refs like, "Yo, what the hell? Like I didn't foul Kawhi." And just watching Kawhi like point at them, being like, "No," he's like, "You fouled." Like it's like every single time he's like trying to tell the young NBA player like, "No, you fouled me." Like you like stop talking. It was just like, and then he would just walk to the free throw line. It was like he's just so cold about it. He's just like, "No, I'm fouled," and then like, but it's just like he gets nearly 30 points in this game because he's getting to his spots. What was really cool about the Clippers this game was like they like were just not shooting threes for a large part of this game. It was just drive after drive after drive, and then like you sprinkle in the Darius Garland floaters and the Kawhi Leonard middies, and it was just they were attacking this Memphis team and they couldn't do anything but foul them because all these young kids like me like what the hell do I do? Because they just kept going at them, and it was Jordan Miller, who I'm becoming more and more a fan of as I watch the Clippers. Isaiah Jackson's getting like he started the second half. He didn't start the game. Brook Lopez did, but he started the second half. So it's like, yeah, they've lost their stars in like Zubac and James Harden over the past couple months, and you think that they're gonna take a dip. But this game also, it was a game after this where they played the Knicks, where they beat the crap out of them, where they got to 500. So it's like it's insane now that we're looking at this Clippers team where we were all like, I mean, besides you, we're all panicking because we're like, oh my God, like they have, like OKC has their pick and they're awful this year. They weren't supposed to be this awful, and now this pick is going to be like a premium pick. So it's great for the league that they're winning, that they're at 500 again, that they continue to win like this. I mean, there's 6 of their last 10 yeah, they've won 6 of their last 10. And I think they're going to keep moving like this, man. As long as Kawhi is doing this, and Darius Garland seems to fit right in, man. Like he's looking aggressive and decisive. Like he's not just chucking up bad shots like from three. Like he's hitting these hezzies. Like he's getting by guys consistently, and like the floaters and his creativity around the rim is just like it's shining through with the Clippers as he's getting more comfortable with them. Mathurin is just. I love how aggressive he is. Like he's always around the ball. Like he's following up shots and everything, and his drives are great. And I loved how aggressive they are in offense this game. They're like, well, screw the threes. We're just gonna keep driving because you're gonna keep fouling us, and it worked, man. It got them back into the game, and then it wasn't like one of those things where you see teams where it's like, okay, we need to get back in this game. Let's do something. But then once the game gets close, they like stop doing it. There's like, okay, let's go back to how we normally play. They were just like, no, just gonna keep doing this, and it was all led by Kawhi Leonard and Garland, and it was a lot of fun to watch. And then on the Grizzlies side, I mean, there's always like so much you can take from the Grizzlies where you're just like, okay, we know what this is. But like, it is cool to see like Ty Jerome since he's come back, like and get healthier. Like the shot selection isn't always the greatest, but like once he gets going and he's passing the ball well, he's working with like Gigi Jackson as well as like Cedric Howard, who I'm a big fan of. Like you see pieces here where you're like, okay, going forward, like, and I was thinking this for both teams. Like my final note on this game was like, it was a great game, and like both of these teams have really interesting futures. Like I don't know what these teams are going to look like going into the next season, but watching games like this, you're like, okay, like I can see like they're building up like where like their depth now, where you're seeing players that they're going to have going forward, and that was just like the fun aspect of the game for me.
Yeah, and I think especially when you consider the Clippers and the fact that they were able to get Benedict Mathurin, I really want to see how he continues to take a next step and what his his trajectory looks like, because he still is very much young, and I think he's a piece that you can build around if you're the Clippers.
Yeah, 100%. And then also last thing with the Grizz, like they have this like equal opportunity offense where it's like you're watching the Clippers and you're like, okay, I know the ball is gonna be in Kawhi or Darius Garland's hand like first and second, and then after that it's a mix of like Mather and Jordan Miller. With the Grizzlies, I was like, it felt like Ty Jerome was getting most of the touches, but then it was like, okay, here's Jalen Wells, okay, here's Scottie Pippen Jr., there's Gigi Jackson, there's Taylor Hendricks. It was like, I think they had like 5 or 6 players get to double digits this game because they're just passing the ball around. It's just like, okay, whoever's got the best shot, just go. And like it was fun to watch an offense like that where it's not being dominated by like 1 or 2 guys. They're just like, hey, whoever's got the best shot, take it. We're just gonna keep passing the ball around. But all right, that was my final matchup. Let me hear yours.
I have a final matchup. All right, my final matchup was one that I chose a little bit before there were some breaking news that it came out about it, and that was Philly versus Cleveland. Because it was a big matchup of like, I want to see where Philly stands when you can compare them to the rest of the top of the Eastern Conference and what that looks like, and what a game to pick, because just before that, on this game happened Monday, during the Atlanta game Saturday, Tyrese Maxey got hurt, which has now been ruled that he will be out for the next 3 weeks before being reevaluated. So it then became an interesting test of like, let's see the Sixers' depth. And I'll put
Is that what we're calling it?
I'm putting that in
Is
quotation.
that what we're calling it? An interesting test? All right, yeah, cool. We got Marjon Beauchamp out there. Yeah, very interesting test. Dalen Terry.
Yes, but look. I genuinely wanted to see it because I think like this was the time last year where you start to see some of these players make that leap where it's like against all odds, all the injuries are stacking up. Like, let's see where this team is at. And we saw where this team was at, behind the rest of the Eastern Conference, behind the top seeds of a Boston, a Cleveland, a Detroit, like hell, any I'd probably say Charlotte's better than them when Charlotte's fully healthy. Like this is, and usually that'd be a knock, but Charlotte is hooping this year, so it's
No,
difficult to
yeah,
say that.
Charlotte's hooping.
Um, but either way, this was like as I said, an interesting game where it's like your leading scores were Quentin Grimes with 17 points, Justin Edwards came off the bench and scored 14, and you got Campaign scoring 12, which he did go off last night, but like him going off is like it feels like it's like once in a moon.
Yeah, I was actually going to talk about that, like, because I've been pretty critical of him, which usually I'm pretty like justified in being, but
Yeah.
yeah, then
All this to say is that
I this was still it was a 14-point loss to Cleveland, but I think it wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be. When you consider like everything leading up to this, I was like, oh, like yes, it was a loss, and I'm once again more of an optimist, and I'll constantly find ways to say like, oh, like let's be optimistic about this. Let's try to spin this, and I think spinning this positively is that you didn't lose bad. Yes, it's still a loss, but I still think like, and I don't want to say, oh, a couple of things go your way and you'll win, but no, that's not what happens against a team like Cleveland. It's not going to happen against a team like Boston. But I still think there once again was positives to this, where it's like, yes, the Sixers aren't going to capitalize off of them because they're the Sixers, but it's not the absolute worst that it has been or will be. But I will
yeah,
say one final thing about all of this is that the Sixers don't even own their pick this year because OKC owns owns the Sixers pick this year. So once again, proceed how you will, Philly, because I will be watching very interesting.
yeah, there's not like because I was watching this game live, right, and it was like I think my roommate even heard me by like the second quarter just go fuck this. I was just like I'm not watching this, dude. It was like part of me was hoping it's like all right, maybe I'll get like a maybe this will be like a Kelly Oubre game, which he did like a couple of games later. I think got injured and he'll be out for a couple of weeks now. So yeah, the Sixers are just cursed. But yeah, I was like all right, maybe we'll see something here. I was like maybe like I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting. Like I wanted like a Bono game. Like I was like maybe this could be one of those games where these guys pops off, and it was just awful from the start. And I was just like, okay, like every single player that is currently employed by the Cleveland Cavaliers got minutes this game. Okay, so that should tell you how it went. It's it's just so. Did you ever watch Ace Ventura, like the first movie?
I haven't seen it in a while.
Do you remember? There's a part in it where they're trying to find the killer, and they go to his old childhood home, and it's got a burn book in it, basically, where he writes like Dan Marino, like die Dan Marino, like a million times in it. Yeah, basically, I started a notebook like that this game, but for Daryl Morey. I was just like, I can't like call it like the Mean Girls thing, where like he's a fugly bitch, and then or like maybe it's like the Ace Ventura if you want to go with that reference, depending what generation you're from. Like I cannot stand this team when I watch them lately. It's just, and it's like the problem is it's like I don't even really particularly blame the players. Like it's just like the entire situation and everything that has gone on since the trade deadline. It's just been out of all their hands, and they've all been put in this like crappy position now, where it's like what is this like? What can this team do going forward? They like you said, like OKC's got your pick, so I don't think you want to tank because it doesn't even make sense now. But like, yeah, you got that pick. You didn't get your own pick back with the Jared McCain trade, but like you do have a pick, so it's kind of just out of your hands on that. But you're not going to tank enough to where it's actually going to matter, and you're obviously not in a position to win enough that you're actually going to be able to compete. So at this point, the best thing you're hoping for with the Sixers is like I don't know, just don't like go out like don't get embarrassed in the first round of the playoffs. Is I guess where we're at. If you even make it to the first round of the playoffs, because at this point, I don't even think they're gonna. They're I think they're clearly going to be in the play-in tournament, especially with how we talked about like teams like Charlotte's playing. Like the Hornets are just surging, but so are the Hawks. I just who they just lost to, and they lose to the Magic and the Heat, or who we'll talk about like at some point here soon. Like they're surging and destroying teams with one individual player. So it's just like I don't know, man. Like
I
I'm not gonna
still
say the
stand
season's
out.
over, but the end to this has after such a great and fun start to the season with this team, where it was like at the very beginning it was a little shaky because you were like, oh, Paul George and Embiid not playing, but then Embiid comes back and he's looking great. Gets a little bit injured again, but it's nothing crazy. And then Paul George suspension. It's just since then it's just been like it's been all downhill.
blow after blow after blow.
This franchise is cursed, dude. Like when I woke up like a few hours ago and I opened my phone and I saw Kelly Oubre injured out for a couple of weeks, there was literally it's like I was dead inside. It's like like not to get too dark here. It's like after a breakup when you're just like dead inside and like someone tries to be nice to you and you're just like I feel nothing. It was like that. It was like I saw Kelly Oubre injured out for a couple of weeks. I was like, this means nothing to me. I was like, this is just standard. Like this is just like everyday shit for me at this point. Where it's like
Are
I'm
you
pretty
okay?
sure no, I'm not. I'm not. I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and a Dembona who's already dealing with back spasms is gonna be like, oh, they're just gonna shut him down for the season. It's gonna be something like that, and it's just gonna be like, yeah, that makes sense. And then I'm gonna have to listen to Daryl Morey talk about his spreadsheets this offseason if he doesn't get fired, which most likely he doesn't, and I'm gonna be pissed off. Anyways, I said I wasn't gonna rant about the Sixers, but
No, I definitely didn't do that on purpose or
yeah,
anything.
yeah, yeah, whatever. Were there any other games we had to talk about before we preview?
No. Yeah, no, not right now. At least we will talk about some in the short shoot around portion. So
Perfect. Okay. Well, so those were our reviews of the games we watch, and of course, a little bit of a rant there. Jay gets to spend every episode glazing his team, and I get to spend mine cursing them. So it's great.
okay,
It's a
there
lot of
was a
fun.
good couple weeks where I was just like, I wouldn't like. I was gonna say I
During
wouldn't
those
lose a
couple
lot of
weeks, though,
sleep.
were you
I said it every
cursing?
week.
Were you cursing your team more during those couple weeks, or the Spurs?
It was both. It was a
Okay.
combination of both, where it was like this team can beat San Antonio, and I'm not seeing it, and that was the frustrating part.
Okay. All right. And I can get behind that. All right. Let's move on to our previews. I'll have you start this section as well. So, what is the first game you were looking at going forward?
Speaking of my team,
Yeah.
um,
Okay.
tomorrow night they play Boston at 9:30, which it is at Oklahoma City. And you mentioned it; it's a chance for one Shea to beat Will Chamberlain's record, which I feel like if at any point and at any point in your career, negative or positive, when they sit there, it's usually positive. But they say like, "Oh, he's approaching Wilt Chamberlain's record." That means you're doing something really fucking good, because Wilt Chamberlain is damn near in every record book. But this would be the most 20-point games consecutively, and I think, and look, I don't want to jinx it, because that would be an insane jinx. But and it
Yeah.
would be Boston would be the team to like just completely fuck it up.
I would imagine Joe Mazzulla's in the locker room being like, "Don't let this motherfucker do this. just like let's be the villains this game."
When he goes up for a layup, you take his knees out. When he goes to shoot a three, you really make sure he's fouled. Like Joe
Two on
Mazzulla,
that
like
man, and it's in OKC too, so Missoula would relish just being able to be like not let that happen in OKC. He would
it
be
would it would
so
be
happy.
it would be an all time press conference after and he sits down and just probably talks the most amount of shit. But in the most Joe Mazzulla way ever,
Yeah,
which
he
is
would
very big.
he would quote the town somehow and be like, "Oh yeah, I just watched it earlier today for the
Yeah,
365th time in a row."
my 500th time watching the town. Oh, his poor family. Um, Either way, I want to see it one for that fact, but also we talk about Jason Tatum continuing to get into rhythm, and I think the like what better test than against OKC and potentially a team that if all were to go right, I think like it could be a finals matchup. So I just think it's a good test for both teams. As OKC continues to get healthy, we're seeing AJ Mitchell, get into a rhythm. That was his first game back, which is kind of crazy, but can you play at that consistent level? Can Jalen Williams continue to make that impact? And I think the time where damn near everyone was hurt except for him, like we saw that he was able to really step into that role of being the guy that he is now. And I was questioning, like, all right, once you do get an Isaiah Hartenstein back, you get a Chet back consistently, like what will his role be off that bench? And I think it's going to be really interesting to see what that looks like as we see the OKC team get healthier.
Yeah, we had overlap on this one too because this was one of the games I picked for all the same reasons. The record and then just a potential finals matchup here, especially as the Celtics continue to get better and Jason Tatum continues to get healthier. Which I hope he plays this game. Like I know, like they talked about like maybe he'll have to rest some games, but like I really do hope he plays this game because I want to see both teams like as healthy as they can be playing each other here because I think this could be just an insanely fun matchup where it's like both teams are a little injured, but we know that they have good depth and very good like two of like I would say the top five coaches in the league. You would have to say at the very least. So it's just an insane matchup and from that standpoint. So I was like, this was an easy pick. Like for like, okay, I have like even if we weren't doing the show, I would be like circling this game on the calendar, be like, I have to watch this game. Like something interesting is gonna happen, no matter what. All right, so my next one, a game on the same day, I think happening right kind of around the same time actually, but Nuggets and Spurs. Um, I feel like we could just like say everything we just said. It's like okay, like this could be a potential Western Conference Finals matchup, and like anytime you see like Jokic against like Wemby, you're gonna have to tune in for that. But it's also like I want to see how these defenses get tested by each other. Like how does Aaron Gordon attack the Spurs defense? I think like how do they handle him in general? I think could be a really fun watch because just what he can do just with the power that he has, but also like the shooting ability and just the threat of like to him in the dunker spot as a lob threat is just awesome. So it's like the fact that he's become that kind of scorer. I want to see how like Wemby handles that because I feel like as a roamer, he'll have to deal a lot with both Jokic and Aaron Gordon in this game. And then also, how do the young guards deal with Jamal Murray and some of these other guys like Tim Hardaway? Like, are they going to be able to close out fast enough on these guys? And then, yeah, so for me, like a lot of this game will be me looking at the defense, and then for the Spurs, like, what's their game plan for Jokic? Like, is Wemby going to still be roaming all game? Like, if he does that, then who do you put on Jokic? Like, if he's at the top of the key, like so. Things like that. Like I'm really curious from like those little small things. Like how does this game go?
You talk about the health aspect of this, and I think like Aaron Gordon is a big crucial, part of the Nuggets moving forward, and I think he'll decide a lot of really the amount of confidence I have in Denver, and I think this is a perfect test for him as he's getting healthier to see like what his ceiling is, what his fit against the Spurs is, but also play like Cam Johnson. You mentioned it like if there's any time to show up, there's any time to say like hey, I've struggled this season with injuries, just inconsistent play, whatever it is. This, the trade hasn't looked good for Denver. This is the time to show up, especially down the stretch, to really show that it was worth it.
All right, what's your next game?
All right, my next one is Philly versus Brooklyn, and yes, I'm solely choosing this because look, things can be bad. I want to see what bad is, how bad truly
Well, you
is
picked a
it.
good game to see
Yes,
it,
like
so
if like if the Sixers win this, I think this is like a sky is falling moment where it's like you're probably fully spiraling at this point now.
or they
Um,
lose.
yes, if they lose to Brooklyn, where it's like
We're not
one,
already there.
well, yes, but like they could be there. I don't think they're there just yet. If they lose this game to Brooklyn, to me, and yes, I feel like you as a reactive Philly fan are probably already there. I once again am looking for optimism and any sort of fight. When you live in Philly and you walk around these streets daily, and it's been beautiful outside recently.
I'm starving for positivity. It's not like I'm not looking
Yes,
for it. It's just it's not
thank
there.
you.
I've checked under every rock. There is no positivity.
Still, I need to be the one to try to put that into the air and say, hey, all
Actually,
is
you know what?
falling. You beat Brooklyn. If that's the case, you beat Brooklyn, and it's like, hey, Tyrese Maxey's hurt, and B, you're still. We don't know what you are. I think you're consistently like. I think the reporters just day to day, as always. But like, still, you beat Brooklyn. You went in there. You handled business. It's a positive start. You have to take one game at a time, and I think the Sixers are at that point where it's like you can't be looking ahead and saying, "Well, this is where we're at. This is where we're at." Like, and it's very much coach speak to say one game at a time. But I think for the Sixers, it is so important to really just focus. Take one game at a time. Don't overthink anything. Don't sit there and think about the standings. Don't think about the play-in and how far you are from potentially getting out of the play-in or getting or staying in the play-in. Just focus and take one game at a time. And this is the perfect game to say, hey, just focus, go out there and handle business. Go beat the Brooklyn Nets and not worry about anything else.
I completely agree with you. In me being so negative, talk about like there's not VJ Edgecombe is a bright spot. He is like if not the sole bright spot, he is one of the like really only remaining bright spots of the team. And then like he played well. He just came back from his minor injury and he played well enough. But a game against Brooklyn is a game where VJ Edgecombe could shine. Like in my mind, with all the injuries that are happening with this team right now, and then with basically just being like VJ and Quentin Grimes, campaign being your guards, and then hopefully Bona can be kind of healthy. It's like okay, maybe you can make something happen there against Brooklyn, but then you have to say like who's going to be on Michael Porter, who's going to be able to stop all those threes from what's going on there, and then Like, can this be a game where they're just like, I want to see them have more games while all these injuries are going out? The one positive and bright side that you can maybe get out of all of this is just putting the ball in VJ Edgecomb's hands and saying like, while Maxi is out, this is your team, and actually testing this rookie and being like, we've seen what you can do. Now let's give you all the responsibility now because they've given him a lot. Like, don't get me wrong, like, since the season started, they have been giving him a lot of responsibility. But now with all these injuries, this is a chance for him to really like get tested as that primary number one guy, I think. So in that sense, I would be like, obviously, I'm gonna watch every Sixers game no matter what. Like, it sucks sometimes, but like I'm gonna be watching every game. So yeah, that'll be what I'm looking for, like going forward while Maxi is out. Is like, how does VJ Edgecombe like take over and handle the team? He already said like himself, he's like, there's no replacing Maxi. This is his team. He's a great teammate, all that stuff, which is great. But I want to see VJ Edgecombe like really take the reins and like see what he is like as the number one guy. All right, there. See, look, I was able to find something positive.
It wasn't so bad. It was either this Brooklyn game or the Portland game. And I think if you're like taking one game at a time, you got to focus on the one first. And also, I didn't want to make you pit you against your favorite teams.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Both
will say that
teams.
coming up in a couple, and we'll have a show before then. But I am going to when OKC comes to Philly, I will be at that game.
Mm,
So I will be having hopefully a front row, a very good row thanks to my girlfriend getting me tickets for Valentine's Day.
the
Um,
shout out
Shout out. A very good front row to hopefully see Shai. Um, so
and
that
hopefully Joel Embiid.
well, we'll see.
All right,
I need to check
okay.
if that game's a back to back or not. But we'll have another show before we get to that, since that's like 2 weeks from now.
I am glad I got to see the Sixers at one point, literally right before everything went to shit. Like
Yeah, I
during
was
that,
about to say you were in a good point.
I literally saw like I got to see the Sixers while they were still like the highs were high, and then it was like a week later. Not even, yeah, I think it was like a week later when everything started to go poorly. But anyways, all right. Let me go to my next preview here. I got the Suns and the Raptors. This is like I think just like a low key like very good matchup. Like I know
Yeah.
since Dylan Brooks been out, the Suns haven't been the same, but the Raptors are a team where I don't think they're getting enough attention, like across the league, but especially in the East. Like they have been consistently been one of the better teams in the East, like all season long, in large part because of Scotty Barnes and how well he's been playing, both on offense and defense. Every time I say Scotty Barnes' name, by the way, I can't help but want to say it like his coach did when he went on that rant about the rest. We're like, Scotty Barnes, future face of the league. Anyway, so yeah, Scotty Barnes, who has been legitimately awesome this year. Like it was insane that he wasn't like right away put in the All Star game. Brandon Ingram's been awesome. RJ Barrett has had his moments like with the teams, like where he's fit in. Shed like as like a defender, like and as an initiator in general, has been like sick. Like I don't think enough eyes have been on the Raptors, enough like conversations being had about them, where it's like if we were talking a couple months from now, like the Raptors going into like the Eastern Conference Finals, I legitimately like wouldn't be that surprised. I know that's like lofty expectations, but like I truly do see them being like at least like winning a first round in the playoffs. Like I genuinely think they've been a very good team. So watching them going against the Suns team, which has also been somewhat of a surprise team this year, where you have guys like Gillespie and Dylan Brooks, obviously, who's been out, but then like this team is like it's been a fun surprise. Like as much as like, we can talk about their owner and how like whatever he is, but like this has generally been a very good team with like two really good coaches, I think, on both teams. Where like a matchup like this, like you don't get to watch it that often, and like I think it's just gonna be a fun game. Like sometimes when I do pick these matchups, I'm just like I see it and I'm like Suns Raptors. I'm like, yeah, you know what, like that's just gonna be a fun game to me to watch. Where like there's lots of intriguing players, the coaches are fun, and it's just two teams in a position right now where it's just it feels like they're the Raptors less so, but almost like they're playing with house money where it's like, yeah, like there aren't lofty expectations for us this year, but like we're winning and let's just see what this can be this year. So like watching two teams like that, like prior to the playoffs go against each other, could just be a very entertaining one.
Yeah, and it's funny because when I was looking through the games, this is one that I was keeping an eye on. But I was like, like I don't know, like maybe it feels like a bit too like niche
Mm.
almost like. And I know that like that's kind of the point of the show is to kind of attack otherwise. But I was like, like am I really going to sit here and tell people that this is a game to potentially keep an eye on? Another side note for Dylan Brooks, did you see that like I'm trying to find it now, like did like I guess an interview with him and asking him about like just the NBA in general, like some of the players, and like he had responses for like damn near everybody in the entire league. I need to find it because it genuinely is like really funny.
Was it during his
Like
sobriety test?
probably not. Um,
Sorry, I
but
didn't mean to.
we need to
But
find it. We need to find it because it was legitimately like funny, and I was like looking at it Monday morning, like what is this? Um, where is it? I'm gonna spend the rest of the show looking for this.
but no, I mean that I didn't see that, but that doesn't surprise me that he would be like openly just being like, oh yeah, this guy trash, like or this
Yeah,
guy
that
like.
literally was how it was. Like it was like oh KD blah blah. And it was funny because like it was a couple of people where it was like he actually gave them respect. Where he's like oh no that's my guy, and then he's like right back to that guy's trash. He can't guard me. He can't shoot.
Okay,
Where
I
I
hope
was
you find the list of players they asked him about because I would like to guess like who he said was trash and who he actually had
I'll
respect
read
for.
off the quotes and then you have to guess who he's talking about. But once I find
Ooh,
it,
okay,
I'm
okay, okay, okay.
legitimately going to spend the rest of the show searching through all these different like sports pages to find it.
Mm. But no, like the Suns have generally been like a fun team to watch this year between like the development of like Jordan Goodwin, Mark Williams. Like it's actually like it's been fun to watch them. It's just been so unexpected, and like I'll anytime Devin Booker is playing, like he is one of my favorite players to watch. Like in the league, he's just one of the smoothest scorers you can have out there.
I found it. All right,
God,
you ready?
okay, yeah.
Okay. So they all asked him about this was all in response because they released a top 50 list, and there were a bunch of players that were put over top of him. I guess this is what we'll kick off our shoot around portion, and I'll
This
so I'll read off the quotes and you have to try to guess who he's talking about. Okay, first one, he's not having a better year than me.
He's
I know that's
not
pretty vague. I'll lower it down to you about to help lower it down by saying he's in the Western Conference.
not having a better
player
year
he's
than
talking
me.
about.
Um, Kawhi Leonard.
No, LeBron James.
I should have known that because he is one of his like number one haters. Okay, all right.
All right, foul baiter.
Is it SGA?
No,
Embiid?
nope. Austin Reeves.
Austin? Okay, is he just going through the Lakers roster? Does he just
All
hate
right,
them that much?
next one. This one was just hell no.
Hell no. So wait, they just asked him if he's better than
It,
them or
like they
not?
were like so the top 50 list released and a bunch of every player that I'm listed above, like I'm listing was above him in the top 50 list by that was put together.
He just
Um,
said hell no. Okay,
and
can I
and
get
so they
conference?
were yes Eastern Conference.
Hell no. Eastern Conference.
Eastern Conference guard.
Jalen Brunson. Cade?
No,
Okay.
he's
Well,
the
I'm trying to. I guess I'm like figuring out where his ego lies here.
yeah. That
But
was
okay.
about Josh Giddey.
Just hell no.
This year he might have. He might be right on that one this year.
All right, this next player, one of the few ones he gave respect to. He's having a good year.
I like that. That's him giving respect. Yeah, he's having a good year. Cool. Can I get a hint?
Eastern Conference again. Another Eastern Conference guard.
Having a good Maxi?
I don't know. I don't think you're gonna get like you're gonna
I'm
be
not gonna
shocked.
get any of these.
This one was Concanupple. Him showing respect to the Rook. I was like interesting. Um, all right, next one. He just said sweet.
I don't.
I think if you think about like like NBA players and you think of sweetness, I think this player comes to mind. I genuinely think he has a point about this,
Like as a personality, or like what are we talking about here?
both as a personality and his play this season.
See, that makes
And
me want to
it's
say
been
Maxi again, but
it's been a knock on him his entire career is that he's not as aggressive.
he's he's sweet, not aggressive. I don't know.
Karl Anthony Towns.
See, because I don't agree with him there. What is he talking about? Okay.
Okay, not a better year than me.
All right, at this point, I'm done guessing because I'm not gonna
Yeah.
get it. So you just
Okay.
gotta tell me. Yeah.
That was he was talking about Cooper Flag that time, which I could see a point. I still disagree. Um, he just said no to Chet Holmgren. Um, he said about Scotty Barnes. He said can't shoot. I love that matchup. Um, to your guy, well, not your guy, Joel Embiid, he said, no, you can probably go to sleep for a straight week and he's probably hurt again. Um,
Okay, says the guy with a broken hand.
Talking about Julius Randle, he said, head to head, question mark, no. Um, talking
Uh,
about talking about Amin Thompson, he said, that's my guy.
what?
um,
Okay.
Talking about Paolo Banchero, down year could be way better though. He should be LeBron.
Where
Um,
is he getting his takes from? NBA Twitter? Like, what is happening here?
this one about Brandon Ingram, I rate his game all the way. That's the game I like. Talking about Desmond Bain, he said that's my young boy. He called Keontae George soft. Um, Speaking about Lauri Markkinen, he said no, his numbers are good though. And then finally, Trey Murphy, I can't support losing, but he's having a great year.
Can't support losing.
It was just really funny to see like who he was willing to give credit to, like a Con Canuple, an Amin Thompson, Brandon Ingram, ironically, who I think is a
Yeah,
player
that
like
one's random as hell.
a big part of like Toronto's success this season. But I think like yes, I think Brandon Ingram's game is very much underrated. But it's always interesting to see like how a player, especially a player as polarizing as Dylan Brooks, who has the ego to sit there and honestly reflect on some of them and be like, no, like I don't like I'm genuinely better than him, even though sometimes he's genuinely just like out of pocket.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna get any of that. I don't know how that man's brain works. He is an individual. That much you can say. He is a special guy. Hopefully he gets well soon. I think he'll be back by April. I don't know. I can go to sleep for 2 weeks and he'll still be out. But okay. Uh, Next on shoot around. I mean, we can't. We got to talk about it.
What Nick
Bam
Batum
Adebayo.
passing Kobe? Oh, we went different. We went different
Oh,
directions.
Jesus.
Nick
Yeah.
Batum
So
passing Kobe Bryant all time 3 pointers.
yeah, sure. That's what we're talking about. Yeah. No, we're talking about Bam Adebayo. He scored 83 points. This was last night on Tuesday, March 10th. He scored 83 points against the Washington Wizards to break Kobe Bryant's record. Well, I don't even know if you can call it a record. He broke Kobe
Yeah.
Bryant's like second place record of 81 points. Bam Adebayo played basically the entire game, except for I think maybe the last like a minute or 30 seconds. Like he played like 42 minutes, I think. He played the entire game. He had 31 points in the first quarter. His season high up to that point of the season was like 33 or 32. So it was like I got a notification about this game. It was like Bam has this much in the first quarter. I was like, all right, well I'm tuning in because anytime I don't know if you have the same reaction, but like anytime a player like you get a notification like oh my god like I think back to like when Lillard had his 70-point game and it was like oh he has like I was watching that game live, but it was like anytime you see a guy who gets like 40 in the first half or something like that, I'm always like all right, like how what's the second half like, are they gonna go for it, like are they gonna go for like, and in my mind I'm never thinking like the Kobe like number. I'm always just thinking like are they gonna go for 60 or 70, like that's in my mind. I'm like okay, are they gonna do it, or is this gonna be one of those games where they get pulled out and then like sometime in the third or fourth quarter and we're just like it is whatever. In this game, like Spo and all of his teammates talked about afterwards. They're like, once Bam got off that a hot start and they were in the second quarter and he was like getting close to like 40 points, like that early, they were basically all just like, oh, we're like screw it, like we're doing this. This is the Bam game. Like they just went all in on it, calling plays for him, passing the ball every single time. They were just giving him like every opportunity to score, and I loved it. Like I personally, I loved it. Like the discourse after this game has been extremely disappointing and toxic, and it sucks because everyone's going to talk about okay, it's like he shot 40 something free throws, he made 36 free throws in this, and you know he was chucking up threes, he was like 7 for 22 for I don't care. 83 is 83 to me, and this like just like being a fan of Bam Adebayo himself and just of basketball itself, I just think this was an amazing moment. It was cool, like the moment like it was happening, like you could tune in live and just watch it. Like everyone's like, "Oh, it was against the Wizards." Who cares, man? Like, and the Wizards were genuinely trying to defend. They were triple teaming him off of inbounds in the back court. They were not like, just letting him score. And everyone's going to talk about the free throws. He was driving and ISOing more than we usually see him do it. Like, I think if you look at his like, I mean, it's already been proven. I don't have the exact like, I didn't say the numbers, but like this was the most he was driving in a game like all season. And these young players on the Wizards who I've talked about how high I'm, they're not there yet. There's still these young players developing and learning. They didn't know how to deal with this man driving downhill every single time with them. They had nothing to do but foul him, and it was just. I don't know, man. I loved it. I think it's a great moment, and it sucks that it has to turn into this conversation about like, oh, there's an asterisk next to it. No, there's not. 83 points is 83 points. If someone on my team, like Maxi or something like that, got 83 points, I'm not asking how. I'm just it's the old question. I don't care how, just how many. He got 83 points. He broke the record. It's an awesome moment. And if you think any NBA player can just go out there and do that any night, it would have already been done. If you're gonna make the foul grifting like argument here, James Harden would have already had it then. Like, I'm sorry, this wasn't. It was just a cool moment where you had to just be in the moment and just shut the hell up and enjoy basketball. And that's where I'm at with it.
I agree with you, and I think the one thing I'll say that differentiates probably my viewpoint of this is that like I expected NBA Twitter to be on some bullshit about this because they're going to be the type that they are, where it's like, oh, well, how many free throws? Like, well, who is he playing against? Like, to be really nitpicky and to not sit there and fully appreciate what we're witnessing, because I think we're in a point where it's like if something great happens, there is constantly like. And this is my soccer brain talking. There's like the soccer has this thing called VAR, where it's like they review everything. Like if there's a goal scored, there's instantly a VAR review to see like, oh, was there maybe a person that was slightly offsides in any type of build up to overturn a goal? And I think the sports world is constantly like waiting to like look at something and nitpick and say like, well, VAR, that's some bullshit right there. He shot 20 free throws. Yes, he finished with 60 points, but he had 20 free throws. And it's like, all right, like, shut the fuck up and appreciate what you're witnessing genuinely. And so I expected them to be on some bullshit. I didn't expect some of the NBA community, the actual like players and coaches to be on some bullshit. Ime Udoka to come out. Ime Udoka to come out and say, and this is his exact quote. First thing you think is, how? I saw he only made 6 threes, but 40 free throws or something. And it's the Washington Wizards.
Of all the people to make that comment, by the way, for a team that doesn't like shoots the least amount of threes in the NBA that you coach, I would think you would appreciate that.
It to me is crazy that Ime Udoka has any sense of like trying to step in and voice like concerns about anything, considering just the Ime.
Hey, we didn't forget about Nina Long.
Yeah, we have not forgotten. And
So it was crazy to say that. And then you think about the actual basketball perspective of this, and then somebody comes out and goes, "Oh well, Embiid, did this in 3 quarters."
When Oubre said that, I was so disappointed, bro.
To me is like, and yes, I understand like wanting to vouch for your teammate and everything, but it genuinely felt like unnecessary to just like add that into as like almost a spike to be like, well, like Embiid, if he played a fourth quarter, could have gotten it. Like,
which, by the way, he did play in the fourth quarter of that game. I don't like how that's being. I'm a big Embiid fan. He is my guy, but like he did play in that fourth quarter.
Either way, it's just a lot of bullshit. It's way too many people voicing their opinions about something instead of just saying, hey, like it was a big moment. Let's acknowledge this. Let's appreciate this. And it literally is in the NBA record books, and it literally cannot be forgotten because we talked about every time somebody gets even remotely close to it, where it's like, oh, like yes, nobody's touching Will Chamberlain's 100 points. So I think you're looking at this and saying, well, 83 is the closest anybody's going to get to like what the higher scoring game truly is. And when you have a player that like is in rhythm like that, is playing the way that he was, it doesn't matter how many free throws he's scoring. It doesn't matter how many threes he isn't taking. It's about what he is doing and what is hitting, the bottom of the net. And we saw 83 points hit the bottom of the net.
It's an awesome moment in basketball, like you said, man. Like his entire coaching staff and team rallied around him the moment he got the hot start and said, like, let's do this. Like, there was no, like, they were, Spoelstra, who never wants to or hates doing it, was challenging calls so that he could get Bam extra shots. Like, like people were saying like it's shameless. Screw that. Like how many times are you watching a player go off? Like I just talked about where like oh my god, like they could do it. Like they could get to like like the 70s or whatever in a game, but then they get pulled out because they're like oh like we don't want to beat up on this bad team and it's like sports. Screw that, man. Like at that point the Wizards got to make a stop, man. Like and it's cool to see a team finally like what, screw it. You're gonna stay in. You're gonna play this game. Let's see what we can do. Like I enjoy, and I hope like other teams try to do this too, where it's like hey like the Heat, by the way, are not a team where they're like just out of the playoffs. Like every game the Heat play until the playoffs actually does matter. So it's not like they were just like, oh, screw it. We're just like, we're just kind of coasting. Like games, I don't care that they're playing Wiz. They matter. So the fact that they were just, even in a moment like that, they're like, screw it. Like we're going to win this game and we're just going to see what Bam can do. Like just go for it. Like why not? Like what is the point of sports and not to go for shit like this? Like it just hurts my mind that people are just being like, oh, like, it sucks like he had to do this, and then the Kobe stands. Oh my God, they are in shambles. Good Lord, did you see anything from Ice Cube son O'Shea and how he was bugging out online?
Uh-oh.
Oh my God, dude, there's a whole thread of him just like losing his mind, saying like the refs might have rigged it so that he could pass Kobe's numbers and like all these other like just insane stuff. Where you're like, and it wasn't just him; it was like all these Kobe stands being like I have a friend of mine who is a big Kobe fan, and he was talking about it like, oh, I wish like it's good for Bam, but like I wish it had been like a superstar who had done it instead of Bam. And I was like, well, first of all, like we're talking about like a two-time Olympic gold medalist, like a very good like star player who like is one of the better defenders in the league. I mean, just like that's the cool part about it too. Like just for Bam as a person, a guy who got drafted and they thought like, okay, middle of the first round, he's gonna be like a good rebounder and like a good down low like post defender, like just an athletic guy. But then to watch him develop his game over time to be a starter on the Olympic team, to like developing a 3-point shot enough that they trust him to take them at volume, and then to be there with his mom in the stands and and Asia Wilson was there as well, who got to join him at the press conference. Just seeing like and to do it in front of the Heat crowd where everyone's like every single person in the building, unless you're a Wizard, was like rallying behind him. I don't know, man. Like it was an awesome moment in basketball and in NBA history. And it's just I would rather enjoy it than like be like I don't know butthurt about it.
So I went to X to see what you were talking about with O'Shea Jackson Jr. And I'll
Brother
read this
lost it.
exact. I'll read this exact quote that he put out, and it was, "Bruh, as Kobe fans, we would have loved and respected somebody taking Kobe's record because it would have been the closest thing to seeing Kobe. You fucking idiots," in all caps. But instead, they manufactured and forced it to happen. Somebody didn't like the Lakers putting up that Pat Riley, so they tarnished one of Kobe's statues. But it's still the highest of any guard or perimeter player ever, so it's not about that. The league showed that at any time, a group of refs can just decide you're getting everything called for you, and the guy you're guarding could have 0 for the night. That's in quote 1.
And 2, that's a whole lot of bullshit. I guess once again the refs play a factor in calling fouls. At the same time, so does a young team that doesn't have experience and doesn't know how to stop somebody. It is very much clear that the Wizards have struggled all year with paint players. And I saw a post, and it was like, ironically, the one game Julian Reese doesn't play for them. Like he all of a sudden dances off. And I was like, it genuinely is funny.
It's literally the worst defense in the league.
Yes,
Like literally. Like even if you look at the season as a whole, they're ranked last. If you look at the past 2 weeks, where you're like, oh, maybe they're 29th. Like they're the worst defense in the league.
It wasn't like the ref sat there and constructed this. It was Bam getting a hot start early, the Heat recognizing that and saying, hey, feed him the ball, and the Wizards not being able to stop it. And I think that is like, once again, when you talk about wanting to appreciate greatness, it is very quick for some of these players, or not even players, people as a general sports fans, to look at this and say, like, how can I discredit this because I value who previously held the record? Like it is like
when Kobe himself would be happy about this.
It is insane that like we get to this level of like tribalism about like players, like, and it really is like Kobe stands, but it's also like the old head MJ stands, and it's like it genuinely is insane when it's like it really is not that serious, and I think that is like my entire point in all of this.
Yeah, and the longer the conversation goes on online about this, the worse it gets. Where it's like now people are saying like, "Well, Wilt did this." It's like Wilt was also doing some of the same shit even back then in the '60s against the Knicks when he got his record. Like they were
Okay,
trying to
time
foul
out.
him.
With that being said, and this is slightly different and kind of switching the tangent a little bit. I've seen way too much Wilt footage lately of everything but the 100-point game. Like I was like, oh, like Wilt hitting hook shots against the Knicks. He's scoring 60 here. Where the fuck is the 100-point game? Because I'm seeing everything but it. Oh, Wilt's changing a light bulb here in the arena because he's the only tall one. Oh, like where's the 100-point game footage? Everything but it. Like it is
You know what,
insane.
Jay? I'm just disappointed in you, man. That's crazy. You are in a leadership position at a radio station. There are radio clippings of Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game, and you're talking about here, oh, it's not on TV. You should be happy that radio has it and not TV. That's a point for you right there. Well, hey, look, I just this entire thing is it's turned out to be way more ridiculous than it needs to be. And like it's annoying that you just like it's like anytime something like this happens, like it almost feels like you have to pick a side. Where it's like, why does there need to be a side? And like, I'm gonna sound so corny when I'm saying all this, and I fully
Guys, why
recognize
don't we
that.
all just be friends?
You know,
That's what I'm
it's not. I don't care about being friends. It's more like I fuck like whatever. Like I don't need to be friends with all these other fan bases and what like NBA fans. I would prefer not to be. I think it makes it more fun. But my point is just like at the end of the day, there has to be respect and appreciation for just basketball and like for cool shit that happens in basketball. And for and, like this should have been a moment where everyone could have been like, okay, this is dope. Like someone scored 83 points. But rather than that, before the game even ended, everyone's already bitching about it. It's just like, all right, man. Like, can we just like do people even like basketball anymore? Like I don't know. It's like they just like players and narratives, and it's just all surface
Yeah.
level, and it can be very annoying. But congratulations to Bam Adebayo, man. Seriously, it's awesome to see him just develop throughout his career and to have this moment for a team that he sacrificed a lot for. All right, move on. Next thing in shoot around, there was another fantastic performance that night that we got to talk about. Another historic performance, franchise breaking. That was campaign going absolutely ballistic last night and going 8 for 8 from three, which is now a Sixers record. So I didn't really have much else to say other than just congrats campaign. Thanks for holding it down for one game. Um, yeah, I don't know. I just kind of want to shout out because I've been pretty big. I've been pretty critical of him as of late, and my frustration with the Sixers. So I sometimes I have to. I don't know if this is taking an L because he's on my team, but like I do have to take the L as like a media guy, I guess, here and just be like, I was wrong for one game and he had a good game.
Speaking of good games, just one more final one. Mac McClung dropped 55 point or 54 points, excuse me, in which is a new franchise record for the Windy City, which is which is the Chicago Bulls G League team. He scored 54 points, 10 assists, and hit 8 threes or 9 threes in that game, which insane. I don't care G League level, whatever it is. The man shot 51% from the field in that game. So it literally, or he's been averaging 53 or 51% from the field this season. So I think there's a lot of talk about like, oh, how close is the G League to like the actual NFL? I mean, excuse me, NBA. I'm full of mistakes. And how close is it from the G League to the NBA, and what does it look like? Because we see so many players, especially now on two-way deals, and I think like this is like almost a good reflection of like, hey, like I know like Mac McClung is one of those guys that we view as like, oh, you pull him out like as a like damn near a trick pony every time
The
the
dunk
dunk
contest
contest
rolls
rolls
around.
around. But these are also people who can genuinely get buckets, and like I think they like you talk about Kobe would have loved to see his record get broken, and I agree with you in a sense that I think when you have players like Mac McClung who are scoring 54 points in the G League, you see how much potential there is in the league and why an expansion would be so important to continue to allow this talent to grow and to develop and get the opportunity to really shine.
Yeah, I agree. It's like sometimes they always say it in the league, man. It's like everyone can do it. It's just like what opportunities do you get and how do you take advantage of it? It is crazy to me that like because he tears up the G League every year he's been in it, and it is wild to me that he just cannot find a steady roster spot.
Yeah.
Are we on? I think we both know what the last topic is going to be. Are we there?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. It's official. The Hawks had to cancel their Magic City night when the Orlando Magic come in 5 days from now on March 16th because the NBA stepped in and Adam Silver and they said that they rethought it basically and they said that they wanted the Hawks to cancel it. So Ti is still performing at half. They're still serving wings, but now I guess they're just not selling the hoodies, and there's no more live podcast show going on pregame. It's like really the only two differences. It feels like it's just like I don't know. It's like the essence of the celebration is still there, but like the name and like everything else like that's still out there. It's just lame, man. I just like what do we do? Why was this big of a deal that the NBA needed to step in and cancel an event like this? And the conversations about it since then, like since we first talked about it, like Luke Cornett released that blog post, and he talked about it, and that kind of got a lot of people talking. And then eventually the NBA does it, so a lot of people are blaming Luke Cornett. I don't think this is all on him. I do think he was a catalyst for some of it, but it's just there was like again with NBA Twitter, there's going to be toxic conversations online about it where people are like like oh like this is bad like the exploitation of sex workers or dancers or whatever. Then you have people like well it's an art, there's like different sides of it and, like the culture like what it means to Atlanta and just the culture that they have there. And then you have people talking about like what about like oh you can't be doing what about it's right like because like you talk about it like okay well why is the NBA so focused on canceling a Magic City night in Atlanta where there's not even going to be any naked women there, right? Like no one's there taking off clothes. The women involved in the strip club weren't like I don't know 100% sure if they were going to be in the building or not, but like they weren't going to be a part of the celebration and like these festivities that were going on. It was literally hoodies and wings and Ti performing at half. Sounds like a fucking great time to me, and it was celebrating something that like by the way the one of the owners, if not like I think he's like the principal owner of the Hawks, is partially involved with Magic City, and he was part of the production of everything that was going on with the documentary that they're putting out. So if they're so concerned about this with a thing that the owner is involved in, right? Maybe you should be looking at it. Like I can understand, like I don't always want to be doing whataboutisms, but in this case, it's kind of like important because if this is a precedent that the NBA wants to set, where this is what you're getting upset about, then why are there still people like domestic abusers on the court playing basketball? Why is there that statue in front of the Utah Jazz Stadium, right? Like why are people who drive recklessly still not getting in trouble? Why are owners who are on the Epstein list not getting investigated and talked about? But the moment you have a Magic City night in Atlanta, it becomes this big talking point and a big deal where we have to protect the other people. By the way, the people they're talking about protecting are the dancers who no one talked to, except for one person who I saw do an article about it. And that stripper was basically like, yeah, it was fine. Like, yes, Luke Cornett maybe made some good points, but the fact that they were all talking for the dancers, right? They were all so concerned about this group of people, but no one thought to talk to or get an opinion from that group of people who weren't even, again, involved in the festivities. So it's just the whole thing was messy and stupid, and the reasoning behind it was just it didn't make any sense, and it sets like a bad example for like okay so you will allow this in your league but not this and people are like oh what how do I explain that to my kids? How do I explain to my nephews if they watch a basketball game why they're watching a basketball game on FanDuel Sports Network? And like I had to explain to them what gambling is, something that's way more harmful than a stripper is. It's so mind boggling. But of course, the NBA is in bed with gambling. They are also in bed with strippers. But like, what are we doing, man? Like, it's it's one of those things where it's like, okay, like there's a part of it obviously I can get, but at the same time, like it didn't need to be this big of a deal, and the whole fun thing did not need to be canceled.
Yeah. So I'll start just by literally just, and this is from Jeff T. Jeff T. obviously played in Atlanta. He said this on the podcast, his podcast. I wish we had Jeff T on our podcast. He said it's a culture thing. It's bigger than women. It's a staple in the city. It's grown way past the dancers and all that shit. It's the food, the environment. People go there to make deals, and I think that is like the biggest issue with it for me is that people look at this and say like it is a strip club, and yes, at the end of the day, it is. But at the same time, like for us who've never been to Atlanta and have like you hear about all these things from like Magic City, and you hear Magic City Wings, like everyone that like is going there, like here's like artists who are going on tour, and they're like, oh, like I'm stopping in Atlanta, like what's some spots I gotta go? You gotta go to Magic City Wings. You gotta go to Magic City Wings. And I think these are things that like they're so important for the culture.
And when I say culture, I mean black culture. And I think like it is very easy for people who aren't black to want to step in and voice their opinions about black culture. And I think that to me is the biggest issue that I have with this is that this isn't your culture and it isn't something for you to speak on. And yet here you are voicing your concerns, as if like it, not to say that it matters, but it like that it doesn't matter, I should say. But it really doesn't. Like I think like it wasn't it wasn't with the intention of like this is for the NBA players. This is for Luke Cornett. This is for Al Horford, who also spoke out about excuse me spoke out against it.
Who apparently does not have a lot of fans in Atlanta.
Yeah. I think this was. I don't think. I know this was for Atlanta. This wasn't for, this wasn't meant to be directed at kids. It was meant for Atlanta and a celebration of Atlanta and one of the crucial parts of what made Atlanta special and the Atlanta food scene special is the fact that like it's a strip club that has the best wings in the city. Like that is like that in itself is like it perks your ears. And I think when you have an establishment like that, that literally is the fact that we're still talking about it and the fact that it is that crucial, it says a lot about why it's a big deal that it's not happening.
Yeah, and like you're right. Like Jeff T can speak on it better than we can, or people from Atlanta probably could, and obviously like people with my pigment can't really talk about it as much either. But it was more than yeah. Everyone just saw like the name of Magic City and just went straight to like the worst aspect you could think of, which is a whole other problem in itself as well. But like I don't know, man. Like I said, when we first talked about this, I was like, man, if I was living in the city, I would try to go. You know how awesome it would be to have one of those hoodies and to talk about like I was there for that night, like how cool of an experience that would have been. I think now, dude. So apparently, everyone who pre-ordered those hoodies will still get them, but they're not going to be selling. So it's like, dude, those are some like serious collector items now. But yeah, just the whole conversation about everything, it's just it got way out of hand, and again, it's Adam Silver and the league making themselves look bad for like weird reasons. And it's been a rough season for the NBA from like the organizational standpoint, just as an association. And it seems like every turn they get where they're like, okay, like we could like maybe save face a little bit, they kind of just screw it up even more. So I don't know. Like I said, extremely disappointing. Shout out to everyone that's still going and getting to see Ti and experience the wings. That's awesome. Good for y'all. I'm jealous, but I don't know, man. Hopefully, and I'm gonna say hopefully there's like another time down the road. I doubt it now that this happened, but I don't know, man.
It's going to be interesting.
All right. Anything else we need to talk about?
No.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening to another episode of the Matchup Report. We'll be back next week with more NBA, and of course, I think next week we'll finally probably be putting out some NFL shows. Free agency has been crazy. There's been some trades and some rescinded trades and some signings. And there's plenty to talk about as always with the NFL. So now that free agency has started up and we're getting closer to draft season, we'll be putting out more NFL shows regularly again. But of course, the NBA will be going until the end of the finals. So thank you everybody who's been listening. We appreciate everybody who watches, listens, subscribes. I appreciate all in any interactions. We will see you again next week.